It is Monday, April 26, 2021, and this is the iPhoneography Podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm Greg McMillan, and with me, as always, is my good co-host and wonderful friend, Dave Bodner. Hello, David.
Hey, Greg. How's it going today?
It's going really well. I actually cut the grass today. It's. I think that means spring is officially here for Canada.
I would say for you guys, yeah.
You haven't cut your lawn yet?
Oh yeah. I did it a couple times so far.
Oh really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Say, if you haven't, then that's.
Oh no, there'd be a major issue if it hadn't been done by now. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, in fact,
right.
I did mine a little. I did mine a little earlier today too. I did mine. Oh, was it like a week or so ago? And just because we had the annoying rain, where it just got it wet enough, it really couldn't cut it till I waited for it to dry. Then it got cold, then it snowed.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know what? I think
it's just been crazy.
I think we had pretty much the exact same thing. So it's crazy how. Well, I don't know how much further south you are. I know you're west of me, but I'm not sure how much further south you are. But our weather seems to be very similar. Let's put it that way.
That is true.
Yeah. Okay. Well, tonight we are going to talk about printing our photos, and I guess I should know a little bit about printing since I operate an offset printing press by trade, and but it's a different type of printing than printing photos, of course. So what I did to get this idea was in the Artful iPhoneography community on MeWe. You can find that at artfulipc.club. I just put a question on there. I said, sometimes, we find it a little difficult to think of things to talk about on the show. So give me something to talk about. Go. And the first thing that came up was Kevin Barrett suggested we talk about printing our photos from the iPhone. So about an hour ago or so, I sat down and started taking some notes, and Dave added some stuff, and we come up with a few things here. I guess first we should talk about the different ways to print. So, you can print directly from your phone to your printer if you have AirPrint, like a wireless printer. That's obviously one way, but you could use apps to print your photos. And you were using an app at one point, Dave, weren't you?
Yeah. Actually, before we move on from the AirPrint, I want to add that a lot more printers are offering that now.
Yes.
And it's the thing to remember when you're printing. Let's say you have let's say you don't have a specialized photo printer, but you only have your general printer that also does a halfway decent job on photos. When you go and you print, sometimes you'll have the option on the printer itself to use photo paper, which if you can, always use photo paper. And sometimes because most photo paper is the 4x6, it's a much smaller size. It's not the full sheet paper. But if you print and you only have the full sheet paper in, it will print out by, 8.5 by 11 size photo. Mm-hmm. Or I think it's A4, right? Do you guys use 8.5 by 11, or do you use the metric A4?
I call it 8.5 by 11, or letter size. I would call it letter size. Yeah.
And so it'll just, unless you specifically are set up to do that, it'll just, you want this photo done on the full letter size photo? Sure, we'll do a full letter size, and all of a sudden you realize how much ink you used all of a sudden.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's an ouchie. But yeah, so a lot of them just AirPrint is something Apple branded. But if you just look for printing by Bluetooth, that'll work also.
Yeah, that's right.
So a lot more printers have that. I know our printer, which is just we got as a multifunction, so Ruth could have a scanner for her work. That can print from our Apple devices, no problem at all.
Yeah,
And
I
now,
have a printer like that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not a big fan of how Apple has it set up to print because
You're talking like from the phone, right?
Yeah, from the phone
Yeah.
or even from the iPad, where
Right.
you go into the Photos app, you hit the little share button, then you have to scroll down, and then you can print.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of you're sharing it with the printer. I know there's
Yeah.
only so many buttons they could have on there, and they probably didn't want to have an exclusive print button. But it's just weird to think, okay, well, to print, go to your share first. Okay, I'm sharing and scroll down because it's not in the first section, it's in the bottom section. And then you get a print dialog box where you can select a printer and select your different options there.
Yeah.
So again, I'm just not a big fan of how Apple, which I understand, like I said, there's only so much you can do. I'm just not a fan of how they handled that.
Yeah, it's too bad you couldn't have a picture up and have the print dialog maybe incorporated right into the Photos app as opposed to the share sheet.
Yeah. Or, like I said, because you get the favorites, you got the share sheet, which you kind of almost have to, because they put so much in that share sheet these days,
Yeah.
because it's like, well, I want to open this, but not for editing. I just want to open it in, let's say, Outlook or Teams, Microsoft Teams. If you wanted to share a video in Teams, that let's say for work reasons, you would do it through the share sheet.
Yeah.
So or AirPlay it if you wanted to AirPlay it too. If you had an Apple TV, you could AirPlay it there. So a lot of people don't realize where the print is if you want to print it home to your printer at home either. It's unfortunately not one of those things that is the most intuitive in the world.
Yeah, that's right. So the better choice is to use an app.
Yeah.
And you can use different services like Walgreens, Walmart, Target, some of these big box stores, they often have a print lab in there. And usually they're like a kiosk that's put there by somebody like Kodak, for instance. And generally they'll have in their well, no, I don't know if like the Walgreens app would have it or if it would be a Kodak app. But however it works, and I don't know this because I don't use that type of thing, but because I have a printer, right? But if you use an app like that, you can upload the photo and tell them what size you want, what kind of paper to print it on, whether it's matte or glossy or whatever, and next thing you know, your prints are ready. You can go pick them up.
And that's
you were saying
I've actually used those too. So before we move on to the other app, but I've actually used both the Sam's Club app and because Sam's Club was kind of weird. I don't know how it is now, but when we did it a couple of years ago, they had their generalized 1 hour photo kiosk. And then they had the Kodak ones. Now, for the Kodak ones, you had to use the Kodak app.
right.
Also, for their service, not only could you make your prints, your 4x6 prints, but you could order, like we did a print on canvas. But you had to do that through the app.
Oh, okay.
So basically, you went in, you said this photo, and the nice thing is doing it through an app like that. If you want to do something beyond the 4x6 or 3x5 print, it'll say, oh, your resolution may not be good enough for the size you selected. If you select like a poster or something larger, it'll let you do it, but it's saying, hey, by the way, now this is, again, a few years ago before we all had 12 megapixel cameras in our phones. It said, yeah, the way this is or the way it's cropped, it may not look great. Just wanted to give you a heads up before you purchased it, and we're unhappy with the answer.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, it'll say like how many you want, which ones do you want. It does have basic editing built in. I wouldn't edit in the app per se because it's really, really basic. The built-in Photos app does a lot better job with editing, so I would say do all your edits first. Yeah. Now, sometimes you do have to crop, depending on what size and what size of picture you want to print out.
Yeah, because I mean, the iPhone camera shoots basically in 4:3 format, right? Unless you use a specific app that can make it in 16:9 or 2:3 or whatever. But yeah, make sure your crop is right before you submit.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, the one nice thing is with those apps, like the Walgreens or the Kodak. I haven't tried Target or the Target one yet, but they will say, "Oh, you selected this size or this shape. By the way, your photo will be cropped, or there will be parts cut off. Do you want to go in and either leave like white bars on the top and bottom, like if you're doing a wide shot, but you didn't select a wide picture due or wide enough, or did you want to crop it on the side to get a full picture?" So that is a nice little touch that a lot of these apps can do for you too.
Yeah. So you were using one called FreePrints.
FreePrints, yep. And this is something I actually heard from Matt Hoffman, 3-4 years ago on Tiny Shutter. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm really happy with the quality that I got out from them. The idea behind FreePrints is you get so many prints per month. Now in their case, I'm trying to see if they can give me a little heads up on, I want to say, and I thought I had it here, but I don't. You get here we go, 85 prints per month at no cost. But you have to pay for shipping and handling.
Oh, yeah.
So the prints are at no cost. You're just paying for it to be shipped to you, which there is if you only do 1 or 2 prints, you're getting soaked because they have a minimum, no matter how, if you do 5 prints or 15 prints, you're pretty much going to pay the same shipping and handling, which I understand because there's the base cost plus you're not really adding that much bulk or weight when you get up to 5, 10, 15 photos. They don't always weigh that much.
It's just paper.
Exactly. And the size, same thing with the size. You're still putting it in the same envelope. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking for only 1 or 2 prints, something like a Walgreens would be better. If you're looking for maybe 10 or 15, it takes around a week from when you submit and pay. Now, nice thing is if you have Apple Pay set up, it does use Apple Pay for payment, so you don't have to give them your credit card or anything else. You don't have to sign up for a subscription, which is nice. So you don't have to say, well, I'm going to go for the $5 a month rate or the whatever. You don't have to deal with that. You just say, I want 15 prints. Here's the prints. I select them here. Here's the size I want. And now, if you do want something other than the standard 4x6 size, they charge you for that.
Okay, yeah.
If you want, or if you want, I want this in square format versus the standard, you're going to have to pay a little extra for that. So when they say free prints, you have to realize what you're getting for free. You're getting one particular size, and you're only getting 1 print per photo. So if you had a photo that you wanted to make 3 copies of, you would pay for the additional 2 copies.
Okay.
Again, you could think about it as a little nickel and diming it, but for the overall price, it's still coming down to around 20 cents per print, maybe a little bit cheaper. It is nice glossy paper you get. It's actual, photo paper. It's not like the 1 hour places. Sometimes the paper isn't the greatest in the world, which it's basically you're having a nice printer done instead of So there's a reason why old photos feel different than current prints, because they used photo paper that had to be developed, and but versus really shiny printing sheets.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a nice service. You don't have to sign up. You don't have to, no, you do have to sign up, but you don't have to make a subscription, or you don't have to say you're going to do so many. For this olds here, this isn't a Columbia House.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're not committing to having to get so many prints a month done,
right?
Because,
right.
I mean, in this day and age, not everybody prints regularly like that, I don't think, unless you're doing scrapbooking or something, maybe. But yeah, I mean. Go ahead.
I'll also say this is one thing that's getting popular. Is, and I hate to say this sounds so bad, but with the kiddies, it is actually printing out. Actually, let's say you have an event. Let's say not wedding related, because that's a different type of print, but just like a local event type thing where someone could have a little portable little printer, or one of the like a little something that makes it feel like a Polaroid. And I'm thinking it's once you're below a certain age, you didn't experience the actual prints when you were growing up.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
You look back on it, you see, here's a photo of great grandma, and you're like, wow, that is nice. If you're under 30, I don't remember ever the negatives about, pun there, the negatives about actually having a real print. You only see the finished product. You're like, I would really like that. Here's a little, something that we can actually do that with our phone picture. So I can actually print it out and give it to people.
Yeah.
So it's getting popular in bits. It's not overwhelmingly popular, I don't think, yet, but a lot of things they're trying to make it look like the old-fashioned Polaroid.
Yeah, like Instax, I think, is one of the brands. And I believe that's a Fuji thing, is it not?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, you can just carry it with you and zap a photo over there, over the little printer with Bluetooth or whatever, and it whips out a print in a matter of a few seconds, and Bob's your uncle. You can just hand the print over to whoever. So I mean, that's another one of the points that I had is these little, I guess you can call them personal printers. They would fit in your pocket, even if I'm not sure how big they are. I haven't really held one or seen one, but yeah, they would be very handy, and at an event or whatever where you can just whip prints out and throw them around like a deck of cards. The local camera shop is another, like, I don't know about you, Dave, in where you are in Pittsburgh, but here in my little hometown, we've got two camera stores that are still active and still going, and you can go in and actually they both have apps that you can use, or you can go in and I believe you can plug your phone into their machines, I think, and get prints done from your phone that way. I'm not 100% sure if you can plug your phone into the machine or not, or maybe it's just like a Bluetooth transfer or something, but I know you can go right into the store, and it's basically like taking an SD card and putting it in the machine. It just, it shows you photos, you pick the one you want, pick the size, pick the paper, all that stuff, and it prints. The next thing I've got for printing is, and maybe we should have covered this first, is why print? Why should we print photos that we've taken with our iPhone? And I think people have been getting so far away from printing that some people have probably lost touch with what it's like to actually have a print in their hand. There's nothing like having a print, a real print of a picture that you've taken in your hand, printed on paper that you can look at, and it's like you said, the under 30s in that. I would say maybe under 25s or under 20s for sure, probably haven't had too many prints in their hands. And it's just a wonderful experience, a wonderful part of the photography experience to actually hold a print. And, you can look at it. It's almost like getting published in a magazine. You can look at that and you can say, wow, I did that. And it's just different than looking at it on a screen, whether it's your phone or a computer or iPad or whatever. But there's just something about looking at a tactile print in your hand. And I think that it's a good way to get a real feel for how you are doing with your photography. Like it can give you a better view of what your photography is like, rather than have that backlit screen produce the image. I mean, that can make an image look like it really pops. But when you print it on paper, it's more like what a photograph would look like, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well, like I said, there is a difference between the feeling of, because the one difference is that it is true. It does make a difference on how it's developed and how their printer is set up. But there is a difference with screens, especially when you get to certain times a day and the iPhone changes, the color to help your eyes supposedly, and they have the whole night shift on. Yeah. So the photo could look completely different, not only from camera phone to phone, which it definitely will, but it could look different depending on what time of day you're looking at it. Where the hard thing will be right until it starts to fade. That's what it looks like.
Yeah. Now, for me personally, I don't use night shift or whatever they call it, because I want to see the true color of my phone's screen all the time, whether it's late at night or not. And the True Tone screens that are in these iPhones, and I think it was started in the iPhone 8. You could be in a room with tungsten lighting, and the screen would look a certain way. You can go across the hall into a room with fluorescent lighting, and the True Tone display adjusts so that it will look the same as it did under a different light. So that I see what you're saying, and in a lot of, and I don't think it's going to be perfectly the same, but yes, the screen will not look exactly the same all the time. So yeah, that's why getting a print will be better for viewing a photo than on screen. So, definitely, there's definitely merits to having a print as opposed to viewing it on a screen. And, they make good gifts. I've given photos as gifts a number of times, whether it's, printed for that purpose, or I have a photo laying around that I'm not displaying on my walls, and I thought, I know somebody who might like that, and I've given it as a Christmas gift or birthday gift or whatever. So it's a very good personal gift that you can give to someone, and if you frame it, even better. So. And wall decor, that's another good reason to print. I have quite a few pictures on my walls in here, and I I would like to put more up, but I think I've pretty much gone to my limit. But I mean, and another good thing for prints is, like, I mean, how many people have a shoebox full of prints? I still have a shoebox with a whole pile of prints in it from my old film camera days. And it's so nice to be able to go back and look at those. So it's, and it's a good way to, secure those memories for posterity. 50 years down the road, how many digital photos are people going to go back and look at, or how many digital photos are people going to stumble upon when they're, say, urban exploring or something like that? Whereas you could find a printed photo, stuck in a shoebox, stuck in an old abandoned house, and wow, you've got yourself a treasure chest of memories that are still there. With digital stuff, technology's changing, file formats are changing, all this stuff, and you can't change a print.
True.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, so those are some reasons why you would want to print. I'm sure there's others. Can you think of anything that we didn't mention as to why you would want to print?
Well, I can think of, I think we handled most of it. The one thing I can think of, if you were having when we have them again, party, like I said, using the little instant, which I was looking up briefly, the Fuji Insta prints, and the cameras, the printers itself are somewhere in the $100 to $150, depending on which model you're looking at.
That's not bad.
No, I mean the prints are, of course, where they get you, just like Polaroid used to get you. The cost is the paper and not the actual printer itself. But if you're having a party together, just having a thing where you have that available because you can wirelessly do it from your smartphone, even Android phones, if you know some of those people. I kid, but where you could have it, let's say, if you guys are interested in printing out, photos from that you took today, the printer's over there. I purchased this many packs, so just to let you know how many we have. And if you want to print out one or two as a souvenir for, let's say a graduation photo, a graduation or a birthday party, you can print out a picture right there of the person that you, let's say for graduation. I know one thing I know popular with weddings is, I guess this would also work with graduation. You could do a picture with the person that, let's say for graduating, write something on the photo and put that in a card with the person. That way, when they look back, it isn't just a card, but it's a writing with the person that happened right there. And there's your instant, you have an instant right there, but it's also something permanent that, if they want to open up their book years later, you can look back on and say, oh yeah, I remember this, and this is this, and this is this person type thing. Or I knew this person. I don't know who they are, but I remember they were there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all about the memories, no better way to keep those memories than to, like I say, print them, put them away in a shoebox or whatever, and you can go back to them forever and ever, as far as I'm concerned. And, unless heaven forbid they get burned in a fire or whatever, but, but,
let's hope not.
Yeah, let's hope not. So now let's talk about how big you can print iPhone photos. Things we've discussed more or less up to this point have been, they could probably be said for photography in general, big cameras or phones or whatever. But when you talk about, like, I've heard some people say, well, how big can you print an iPhone photo? And So I did a quick search on that just for the heck of it, because I got a pretty good idea how big you can go. But the the iPhone Photography School website says that it has just a little chart for 8 megapixel iPhones, because those were the earlier models, and everything from the 6S onward were 12 megapixel. So the 12 megapixel phones, and I've rounded these numbers just for ease of pronunciation here, but for excellent quality, you can print a 9 by 14 photo, and it'll be like, when he says excellent quality, I'm assuming he's meaning like tack sharp, very clear, very good. For good quality, you can go 14 by 21. Now that's a pretty good size.
Yeah.
And then for fair quality, 18 by 28. And
that's really large.
Yeah. Now I've had photos, like they had a little thing at work where they redecorated the front lobby, where clients and people come in, and people that work in the office staff and that, and they wanted to decorate the walls. So they held a competition for the employees to submit photos, and when they selected the number of photos they want, those photos were going to be enlarged, put in nice frames, and put on the walls out in the front lobby and in offices and stuff like that out there. And I have 5 of them out there that are, I believe they're like 24 by 30. And they were from older phones as far back as my 6S, and they look darn nice. Like, quality wise, I'm not patting myself on the back because I took them, but the quality of the prints are actually quite good for that size. So, I mean, I think file preparation is key there too, because I work in the printing industry, I know how important file preparation is. Like, as if I've seen products that we've printed where poor file prep resulted in a pixelated appearing image on paper. So if I was going to do an image that size, I would definitely go 300 pixels per inch, or 300 DPI, it's often called. And I would, size it to the size I want. What if it's 8 by 10 or 20 by 24, I would put 300 PPI and then put those dimensions on the file and save it out that way. I don't know where they got those ones printed that are in the front offices at work and that, but they look darn nice. That's all I could say. And the thing about the size that you go with your image is, like, the bigger the image, the further away the viewing is intended to be from, right? So, like, if you got a 4x6, yeah, you're gonna go right up to it and have a look at it. But if you got a 24 by 30, you could stand 10 feet away and still get a pretty decent look at the image.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, it's similar to, I guess that's similar to like televisions, where they say, well, if your room's this large, kind of the biggest TV you should get is this. If your TV's any larger, it won't fit. Your viewing angle's no good. But if your TV's too small, you don't really see it. Same thing with the size of the print. How many people are going to hold up let's say a 14 by 21 in their hands?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a big piece of, a big print to look at. That's going to be, like you said, something on the wall type. And the further away you are, the more you can get away with not necessarily the nice crisp as possible look either.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and Dave, as well as I do, we will get the biggest TV we can get. For whatever room it's in, it doesn't matter. But no, you're right though. It makes better sense to get a TV that's going to be, like, if your living room is big enough where you could sit 15 feet away from your TV, then you could get away with like a 65 inch or 70 inch television. But if your living room is such that you're going to be sitting 5 feet away from it, it doesn't make sense to get a TV that big. I mean, that's like sitting in the front row at a movie theater. It just doesn't make sense unless you're like me when I was like, however old I was, 10 years old, and we went and seen Jaws. and I was in the front row. So yeah, that was a different experience. But yeah, I mean, so file prep is key when it comes to making the size of your image, and where it's going to be viewed is a big factor in how big it's going to be. Like, if it's in an art gallery, you can make it pretty big because the viewers are going to be standing back. You might have people go right up to it if they can, as long as it's not barricaded off. But like, I would go right up to it. And this is the printer in me from all my years at work. But I would go right up to it and I would look closely at the image to see just how good the quality is of the print itself. But, for the average viewer, they're probably just going to stand back and just admire it, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now,
especially if it's something you like, sorry, Greg.
No, go ahead. I
would say, especially if, let's say, if something you just want to print up around your house.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many people are going to, I would say this. The person themselves will probably have a more critical look at a photo or a print than the average person will. Because if you did the work on it, you will notice all the little issues.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But the average person coming over to visit will just go, oh, that's a nice picture of boom.
Mm-hmm.
They won't go, oh, I see. You had 3 pixels right here on the bottom right that just didn't look like they exactly got it right.
Yeah. Yeah. If somebody sees that, then they're looking too close.
Exactly.
Yeah, like, I mean, you walk down the hallway towards your bedrooms, you're going to have pictures on the wall. And, in our house, it's old pictures of family and things like that. And they're only like the biggest ones are 8 by 10. And there's a lot of them that are smaller. But in the living room now, that's where we got a little bigger ones. I don't have a real huge print anywhere in the house. No, that's a lie. Downstairs in my rec room, I have a couple of very big ones that are like plaque mounted. They're mounted to wood. But those are old. Those are old photos from my DSLR days. And for iPhone photos, I want to print something big. I just don't know what to do yet. But I mean, okay. So here's an example of how big you can go with an iPhone photo. Excuse me. When the iPhone 6S came out, Austin Mann always seems to get these phones ahead of time so he can do reviews and take them out in the field and test them out and all that stuff. He took one to Iceland and did a black and white of a waterfall, and the image is vertical because the waterfall is pretty tall. He had that, somebody had it done for him, or he had it done to the scale that it would hang from a 30-story building, and you'd have to be blocks and blocks away to view it. And it looked pretty cool. It was one of those, it looked like one of those shot on iPhone billboards because it had shot on iPhone, by Austin.
Okay.
And it was a black and white, and it was really cool. I saw a YouTube video where he was looking at it from like an overpass. I forget where it was. It might have been in Austin, Texas. I think that's where he lives, or he did at the time. But that image would be printed with, it would be printed similar to the kind of printing I do at work, where, okay, you've seen the old comics in the newspapers where you could actually see the little dots that make up the image.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
that's how these photos are printed. And even like the finer stuff is printed with like 150 dots per inch. They call that line screen, 150 line screen. The comics are probably printed with well, it's a lot less anyway, because you can actually see the dots are bigger and whatnot. That print that Austin Mann had hanging on that building, if you walked up to that thing and stood 5 feet away, you would see great big dots on that canvas
sure.
or whatever it was, right? It just doesn't make sense to view it that close. So it's printed so that it's to be viewed and look good. Look, the detail will look good from hundreds of yards away. Obviously, if it's like hanging up, it was 30 stories, I think, the building, and it hung probably a good 20, 25 stories from the top down. So somebody was getting blocked. Their windows were getting blocked for a while, but it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, about to say that would be a sight to see. I know there was one. It wasn't a photo, but it was like what they called living wall, where on the side of a skyscraper they put different plants to make a kind of a mosaic pattern. Oh, and of course, being on the side of a building, no one's going to get close at all to it. Mm-hmm. So it was just a matter of if you were that close to it, that it would just look horrible. I'm sure when it looked close, but if you're looking from 2-3 blocks away, it looked amazing.
Yeah.
And kind of in the smaller realm, that's kind of what we have to think of too. Like you said, when you're printing out, well, where am I putting this? Where is this going? There's a difference between, printing something out and giving to someone versus, oh, I'm going to give this so you can hang it on your wall. Well, if it's going to be hung on the wall, you don't have to worry about it as bad.
Right. Yeah. So, that thing with Austin Mann and where he hung his print and whatnot, I mean, that brings us to ways to display your prints. So obviously in your home, everybody's got, I don't know of any photographer that doesn't have something that he's taken, printed and in his home. Everybody has something that they've taken and printed and put in, whether it's a selfie that you've taken with your friend. It could be sitting on the mantle or on your desk or whatever. But everybody's got something that they've shot with the phone, printed, and put in their house. I think that's probably the most popular place to display your photos. You can put them in a local gallery if you're fortunate enough to be selected to display in a gallery. Now, I have 15 iPhone photos. 12 of them are 8x10 and 3 of them are 11x14, and they're in one of the camera shops in town in the back hall. Like if you come in the back entrance and come in the hallway, they're hanging in that hallway, and it's kind of like a gallery, but I mean, they're there where people can walk by them and see them. And I have a little bio of myself or whatever put there, and I've put right on the thing on my bio that these prints are for sale. Haven't sold any, but I mean, with COVID, there's not been many people going in there.
Coming in, yeah.
So, but anyway, they're there and they could be seen. Something else we have in town here is we have an art banner project where you can submit pieces of artwork or photos to have printed on a piece of canvas that's, I don't know, about maybe 30 inches high. And if you get selected and it gets printed and put on these banners, they go up in different places down on the harbor front. So, excuse me. So that's another option. I know not every place is going to have that, but to be able to have them displayed throughout your hometown, that's pretty cool. Another place is if you want to try to get your images displayed, go around to local businesses and local stores and see if they want any artwork, photographic artwork in their storefronts. Mm-hmm. Some places like to jazz up their places, like little cafes and whatnot. If they got, empty spaces on their walls, they might just agree to have a photo up there for a while. Give them a framed photo and they'll put it up on their wall, and you can always put a little card with it or something saying who you are and if whether it's for sale or not, put a price on it, that type of thing. And you never know, an opportunity to sell some work. And my last point is putting them up at friends and relatives' places. Like I said, I gave some for gifts before. Like I've given some for my parents for their kitchen and things like that. And, it's just another great place to hang up some work.
One other thing is that when you mentioned about a local gallery, made me think of, again, this is maybe not this year, but in the future, if you have a county fair or a local regional fair like that, a lot of times they'll have submissions if you want to not necessarily, have a booth to sell your prints, but to put your prints in a competition where it'll be shown that way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
So that's another way. That way, you can be shown with people who are already looking for photos either to purchase or just get information on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's I'm sure the possibilities are probably endless as to where you can display your prints or how you can display them. You just got to get yourself out there. But it's not all about displaying them in public. It's I think the most important part to me about printing a photo is what I said earlier. You can really tell how your how your photography is by looking at a tactile print in your hand. There's just something about it that makes it different than looking at it on a screen. The color, the contrast, all that stuff, how it looks in print is, unless you have like a high-end monitor that's very carefully calibrated with your printer and everything else, if you don't have all that, then it's probably going to look different on screen than it will on print. So print your pictures and have a look at them.
Most definitely.
Yeah. So anything else you can think of with regards to printing, Dave?
No, I think we covered it pretty good. We covered it pretty good from the whole, how to print, why printing, and what to do with the prints once you print them.
All right. Well, it sounds like we got ourselves a show then.
Yep.
So why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Sure. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter as ProfPod. And actually, not too long after this episode comes out, I will have a little spurt of metal munching coming up, assuming all the joints and everything stay in good shape for the next week or so. And right. I don't do anything stupid like ram my foot into a doorway like I did a month and a half ago. Yeah. And on Facebook, if you're part of the iPhoneography group, I'm listed there as Dave Podner.
All right. You can catch me on Instagram at Macmillan Photo, on Twitter, Macmillan_photo, and links to just about everywhere else I am online. You can get at about.me/Macmillan. And you can catch both Dave and I on the latest episode of Tiny Shutter, where we got together with Mark Sadowski and talked about the recent Apple event and the different products that came out. So you can find us on the Tiny Shutter podcast feed there, and on you can get a video of our ugly looking mugs at youtube.com/tinyshutter. I think it was a pretty good conversation. I think we covered a lot of things and whatnot. And that reminds me, Dave. So little spoiler alert. On that show, I did say that I was going to pre-order the new iMac. Still going to do it. And the thing is, I have my laptop sold. So if I don't have it for the next podcast, I may get you to record, Dave, for us, and I may sound like I'm talking on a phone. But we will still be able to get the episode out for sure. I just won't get the new iMac until sometime in late May. So I'm expecting to maybe miss one episode without my computer, but I could still do it with over the phone, or if I can get my wife's laptop set up to do it, I can do it that way too. But so next time the audio might not be the greatest on my end. So just a little forewarning.
Okay. But we'll still get it to work out, though. We'll still get it to work out. Yeah,
that's right. There's always a way.
Very
so
true.
you can get this show about every 2 weeks. You can find the podcast on iPhoneography.ca, and you can catch it on Apple Podcasts or iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, anywhere where you can get your podcast. You should be able to find it, and just do a search for iPhoneography, and it should show up. And you can find the Artful iPhoneography community, where this podcast originated from, on MeWe at artfulipc.club. And I think that just about does it.
Yep.
So
sounds good.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Dave. Good talk. And
welcome, Greg. You too.
We will see you on the next one.
Sounds great. Have a great week, everyone.
Yep. Take care.
Bye-bye.